welcome back to BTY. Today, Michael and I are back to give you some insights on what happens after your studies. So, you've probably wondered, I finished my studies, what now? Where do I go from here? And today, Michael and I will just be chatting about our experience around that and what steps we took to get ourselves to where we are currently. So, Michael, man, tell me, what did you first do once you finished your studies, and how did that come about?
Yeah, man, I think this is a great topic to hop into because it's very relevant to the stage of life that we're in, and it's something that
Yeah,
we've just lived through. And yeah, many of our peers and so on are figuring this out. And it's not an easy process, man. I think one thing that we've spoken about is how in university and obviously in school, it's like you've got this structure set out for yourself of like, okay, cool, I'm in school for 12 years. I know what's going on. I've got to be
yeah,
there at this time every day, and you know
mm-hmm.
it's all set out in front of you. And then same with university, and then after university, as you mentioned, there's no set plan. You've got to figure it out then for yourself. So yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I think one thing that I would say is quite important is to start trying to gain work experience as soon as you can. One thing that both you and I did, and I can definitely testify that this was very beneficial to myself, was doing part-time jobs even while I was in university. Gaining experience. Yeah, just that experience of working under someone, working for a company, having to show up on time and earning,
yeah,
working for your money as opposed to just getting it from, your parents or whatever your source of income was before. It's very valuable, man. So that was definitely one of the first steps I'd say, sort of a pre-step you could say, because yeah, that's still during university. But when it comes to that post-university approach, man, it's not too different because what I then started to do, this was now, what I started to do was actually apply for internships and jobs about 6 months before my actual final year finished. And again, this is something I would recommend if you do still have the time to do that, is to start applying for
yeah,
things, yeah, in that last year, just to see what comes your way. You might not actually get in some of the, but again, a lot of these companies actually offer a lot of the internships are quite flexible in that they allow you to complete your studies at the same time. So they'll give you time off to work on your studies and focus on that, and you'll just be
mm-hmm.
required to come in when you can.
Yeah,
My first internship started actually 3 months before I finished my final year. That's when I got it. And what I can definitely recommend is to just apply to as many of these internships as you can. You're not likely
yeah,
to get into a junior role straight out of university. That's also one thing I realized. Internships and graduate programs are probably going to be your best friend. So you want to apply to a lot of those. And also, what I learned is very useful is to reach out to recruiters. We all know about LinkedIn and Indeed. At least I don't know. That's what a lot of people use here in South Africa. But
in
there's other methods that you should definitely look into, like reaching out to recruiters,
yeah,
literally just phoning them up, giving them your profile, and then they'll start looking for jobs for you. So that's something I would definitely recommend. And yeah, it's actually how I got one of my positions as well. And another thing is to just use your network around you, friends and family, maybe people you know in university. Start asking around and check in if they know anyone that might be looking for positions. Actually, yeah, my very first job that I got outside of university, the first internship, I got from a email that my university sent me of job opportunities. So yeah, you've got to
sure,
actually look into these things. Sometimes you might not be
mm,
reading all the emails that the university sends you, but yeah, I was glad to actually read that one that day because yeah, it led to a good opportunity for myself. So that's
yeah,
what I would say is just the first thing, man. About applying for roles and gaining that first initial experience and my approach on doing that. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear like how it was for yourself when you first dropped out of university, when you first got into that next phase of life. What did you do? And yeah, can see it from your side, man.
yeah. So I would say I had a similar approach to you, but it was about um Yeah, I was well into my second year when I saw an opportunity for an internship at Roads Authority. So this was during my second semester in third in my no yeah in my second year. So I applied for this job, and then while still in my third year, I got this position during December. That was then a 6 month contract that I got at that company when I was also working part time and then also balancing my studies. Luckily,
Not
I
easy,
started
man.
in December, so I could go into the work and adapt to that, because yeah, it's different when you're used to waking up anytime you want
Yeah,
during the mornings, but now you have to wake up at a set period of time. Though it was really helpful to start applying and getting this position earlier. After that, I didn't have a long waiting period before I got my next job. I think I was at home for a week or two. During that week, I actually went to Cape Town last year. Then my university got me a position at Oryx Properties through sending through the top 10 students in our class. And then we were out of the top 10, we were selected for interviews. I made it through to the interviews. And
mm,
then after the interviews, I was blessed to get the opportunity at Oryx Properties for a bursary program when I started my internship. That was July last year. After that, I just kept working for Oryx Properties, and then during this year, they handed me a 2 year contract for a graduate program. So I'm now a graduate trainee. But in this, I think the best step I took was also just applying for that Roads
mm,
Authority internship, knowing that I was still a third year. I didn't actually need to start, but it's just the fact that I did a bit of extra to get that job and land that internship. The other thing is, what you also need to do is, like you said, when you're using your network, make sure that you are meeting people that you know is going to be of value to you in the future. And what I did well was build relationships with my lecturers, and I made sure to build a good reputation around that. And that's also how I got them selling me as a product of the
yeah,
university to institutions that wanted graduates and interns. So you definitely look into that. But if you are now in the case of you've just finished university but you haven't gotten a position yet, I would even say you should go and say that I am not going to charge a certain fee for my services. You can pay me with your experience, but just give me a position so that I can learn. And out of that experience, even doing it for free, you will then be able to reap the fruits by, after gaining enough experience, being able to land a job. Because in the interview, you will know what to say and you will actually have an idea about the practical business and not just the theoretical side of
yeah.
things.
So good.
So that would be my first piece of advice. Another point that I would want to delve into is, once you've finished your studies, you have to look into the direction of building your career,
Yeah,
because you can look at your industry and you'll see there's many opportunities that you can take, but you'll have to play around a bit, like Michael said, and decide which direction within your industry you'd actually like to go in
yes,
and build your career within. So it's not that you can decide that I'm just going to take this job because I want to go into this industry. But what I would say is, do a lot of planning and actually write down your career goals
mm,
so that you can have a realistic expectation of how you're going to build your career to getting to the position that you actually want to be in. I know they tell us during school, study and get your dream job. But I'm telling you now that you only get your dream job after you've got a few years of experience. So it actually takes a bit of time to get to where you're actually comfortable and you're satisfied with where you are
yeah,
currently at. but cherish each moment of that journey. That's something I would say about just planning out your career. What would you have to add on that, Michael?
Yeah, great stuff you mentioned there, man. I got to agree that that also should be your main goal actually of this next phase, is to just figure out, as you
Yeah.
mentioned, man. You say you spent like 3 4 years studying now, and you've got the degree that gives you, you know, the door to that industry. But yeah, a good example I think would be myself, in that the first opportunity that I was able to get, I'd been applying for lots of different things, but the first opportunity I was able to get was in IT support, which is definitely covered in what I studied, but obviously I was
Mm.
focused more on the software engineering coding side of things, whereas my first job was
Mm.
actually, not doing something exactly like that. It was more hardware and technical support. And by taking that opportunity, first of all, I was able to gain valuable experience. Very grateful for that 7 month period that I was working there. Um, Learned a whole lot of things, and also was able to realize that, okay, maybe that's not exactly for me. This is not the field that I want to go to, the specialization that I want to do in my industry, as you mentioned, man. And because I had taken that opportunity, I was then able to then start specifically applying for, different opportunities, as opposed to, like you said, just applying for everything. I think in the beginning you might want to apply for everything because you just got to see who will take you. But then from there, then you can start to be a bit more specific. Okay, I've realized now there's one element of my job that I really enjoy, so let me actually try and apply for roles where I would specialize in that. So yeah, that's
Yes.
definitely something that you're gonna need to figure out. And if you've got a good idea of what you would like to specialize in the field, then yeah, like you said, man, write that down. Um, but if not, yeah, it's gonna take a bit of trial and error, and you just got to do your research and speak to people who are currently in that role. That's also a good thing to do, man. Like there's
So true.
yeah, you'll hear it from the horse's mouth about what it's actually like in these positions, man.
Yeah.
Um,
So true.
yeah, one other point that I want to make now, brother, and it's something that we've come to realize, and it's been a reality bite out of university. But what I'll say is that in this phase, you should tell yourself continuously that salary comes later. Now, you might be one of those people that gets and this does happen, that you can get a very high paying or high paying job, straight out of university. I mean, you're not going to get the highest paying
Mm.
job, but you can still get something that pays well. But the reality is that might not be you as well, and you might start off on minimum wage, literally. I mean, both of us have had that experience where, although we are skilled and have studied a degree, you can start off on literally minimum wage, and you just got to tell yourself that the salary will come later. You have to gain the experience now so that you can get that salary that you want later. If you don't, take
Yeah.
the job, if you're not going to take any jobs that are, paying
Get the
badly, then
experience.
you're never going to get that experience, like you say, man.
Mm.
So just tell yourself
Yeah.
that if a high paying opportunity comes your way, then you're blessed, and then obviously you would want to take that. But
Mm.
that's something to remind yourself of, is that the salary comes later, and rather just focus on gaining the valuable experience, making good connections, maybe even
Yeah.
joining a company that you would like to work for. Um, but
Mm.
yeah, that's something to definitely keep in mind, man. One thing I'd like to ask from
Yeah,
you,
you definitely.
you're gonna say, you're gonna say,
Yeah. I was just gonna say with that, you have to learn as much as possible as you can on that job,
mm,
so that you're setting you up. Because at the end of the day, you're not necessarily being paid for your qualification, but you're being paid for the skill and what you offer to the company. So the more valuable you can become, the more you are going to be skilled, and that's also going to determine the type of salary you are going to get. So just learn as much as possible, ask the right
amen.
questions, talk to as many people that you can at the company, and really ask them about their journeys as well, so that you can get a sense of direction.
Yeah, well, that's so good, man. I think that's an important point you mentioned about like talking to other people, because yeah, you
Yeah.
can really learn a lot from people who've been at the company for many years, who've worked their way up the ladder. Even if they might not
Yeah.
be it's great to talk to the CEO, but it's also great to talk to the the receptionist and the IT
Yes.
support guy, whatever it be. Uh,
Yeah.
don't limit yourself and don't rule people out. It's definitely worth speaking to others, man. What I want to ask is, how did you like practically do that, man, in the jobs that you had? So you mentioned, obviously like ask questions, apply yourself, learn as much as possible. But what are some things that you uh, you know, put into practice that actually allowed you to really excel in that first position, and that allowed you to learn as much as possible?
Yeah, so I would say when it comes to being within the working environment, it's important to know your boundaries, but I would say as an intern, be able to say yes to as many things as
Mm,
as you can take on. So I was just willing to do anything, even if they send me to get them a glass of water or if they send me to buy them lunch. But it's not necessarily about these acts, but it's about being open to doing what you are being asked by your supervisors. And like I've said, there's boundaries to these things, but I was willing to do anything, even if
sure.
it's work that's outside of my jurisdiction. But if it was changing a light bulb or plugging in a plug, it's just about doing as much as you can, because this is also how you're going to learn. So let's say you're working in the accounting department, but the admin side of the company comes to you and asks you to fulfill a task to write a letter and send it out. This is now communications. Then you just go and send that letter out, because then you get a feel of how this is actually being done, so that one day when you get into a managing position, you also know how to do these certain
So
tasks
good, man.
and you're able to delegate properly. So that's still something that I'm doing now at the company. I'm just doing as much as possible. I'm willing to do work and to take any task that's given to me. And I think that's how you're going to accelerate, because in that, it's not, like I've said, just about the task itself, but it's about showing the work ethic that you have. And you don't know who's watching you. So
Yeah.
just be as positive as possible and try and bring a good attitude to work every single day, and give it your all as if you're doing it for the Lord. That would be my piece of advice, bro. And from your side?
Yeah, that's great, man. I think um what I would say is in that first job, what I did was just, and even actually in the job I'm in now, when I got this software position, and when I've had the chance to, speak more candidly with those above me, yeah, I've just
Mm,
asked questions. One thing I learned from a
so
colleague of
true.
mine is that, like, yeah, if you don't ask, then you're not going to receive it.
You
But
won't
if you
know.
ask,
Mm,
then they can say no, or they might not tell you, or they might
mm,
open up and they might give you a piece of advice, or
yeah.
they might, help you with something. So ask questions. Yeah, that's I think that for me was the most practical piece of advice that really worked for myself, and that I was able to
Mm,
play out. And yeah, like I mentioned, just speaking to, I mean, yeah, people above you, but even people, in the same line, and even below you in different
yeah.
positions, so yeah, asking questions
Mm-hmm.
was, I think, what really played out for me, man, and
Yeah.
definitely helped me to learn as much as possible from that first position. And I think I've been able to gain, more knowledge than I would have now if I had just, kept my mouth shut. But yeah, man, I think
Yeah.
these have been some good points to talk about when it comes to approaching that next step. And look, it's not easy. It's quite a, like I mentioned, university and school, it's a completely different setup, and now you've really got to figure things out for yourself.
For
But the
yourself.
best thing,
Yeah.
hey man, is always just to not dilly dally, not put it off, but just like start getting
Mm,
that experience, and you will, learn from that. There's no point in theorizing about it too much, but you just got to throw yourself in the deep end. Anything else from
yeah.
your side?
No, it's Yeah, and I just would like to add on that last point that you said, like asking the questions.
Mm.
And when you're being given a task and you don't know what to do next, when you get
Yes,
stuck,
yes,
also go and ask for help. Don't just be silent about it,
yes,
because you'll probably get in trouble because you didn't finish the task. But when you go and you ask, like, okay, I've progressed until this point, but I don't know what to do from here on. You ask, and you have to be open to get some reprimanding as well from your supervisor to tell some constructive criticism, but definitely don't keep quiet. Like you said, you have to make sure that you complete your task, and if that means going to ask the for help, do that,
yeah,
and
exactly.
also extend help to other interns that's there. But that was really a good conversation that we had, especially within the career, how you handle it. I think next time we can chat a bit about how you structure things afterwards. Do you decide if you want to be stuck in the corporate world or if you want to start your own business later on, and even looking at what postgraduate qualifications that you can get
Yeah,
so that you can get the next position. But I think that's been a good conversation
exactly,
for
man.
tonight.
Yeah, like you say, man. There's definitely lots of next steps from there to take into consideration. But yeah,
Yeah.
we do hope that you have been able to gain some value from this, as Daniel mentioned, just about
Mm.
yeah, what and how you should approach your first job out of university.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you've enjoyed listening to this, then please do consider subscribing to BTY. We are trying to grow and we're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. So please do help us to reach that milestone. We would greatly appreciate it. And also leave a like on this video, which will help us out a lot. And yeah, Daniel and I will be back very soon for another video. And we look forward to seeing you then. Much love from BTY.
Cheers. Much love.